everybody.
What's up?
IronTrap podcast. Doing a video but audio only.
Not as interesting video.
Yeah.
No crazy graphics or B-roll going over
We
top
probably
of this
should
one.
just stop saying
Audio
that
only,
altogether.
yeah.
So this one, it's just going to be us talking and BSing in the
Yes.
podcast. We've already gone over all that. Every week we do a podcast now.
Yep.
Make sure you subscribe. If you want to listen to the audio only, you can do on Spotify, Apple Music, any of those outlets. You can subscribe and just listen to this in your car, at home, whatever, in your garage. But if you're listening to this, you can go right to YouTube and also watch us talk
Yes.
and interact in this one. Some of them we actually edit some clips in.
Yeah.
We usually do news and things like that that's going on in the beginning. Anything you can think of?
Carlisle starts on Wednesday.
Yep.
We're filming this on Thursday. Tomorrow is going to be a panic-induced day of packing two trailers, loading two trailers up, getting everything ready, and then Monday and Tuesday we'll be setting up, and we'll see everyone on Wednesday. So Wednesday to Friday we will be there. Do not come on Saturday looking for us. We pack up and go home Friday night. So we'll see everyone there. We will have the parts robot T-shirts available.
You picked them up today, right?
I'm going on Saturday.
Oh, I thought you were there today.
No, I went and got the trailer.
Oh.
I'm going to pick the T-shirts up Saturday morning.
Nice.
So they will be shipping out Monday. This weekend, my children and I will be packing T-shirt orders. They don't know that yet, but
They're volunteers, not
Yes.
child labor. They're volunteers.
So the shirts will be going out Monday. If you pre-order them, they'll be going out. We have a small back stock that will be available at Carlisle, pocket tees and regular tees. So in both colors. So if you're coming to Carlisle, come grab one. Limited supplies, so don't show up Friday afternoon hoping to get one because they might be gone.
We might not have your size.
Yes.
You might be triple XL and all we have is a small. And
Yes.
You'll have to figure out how to put it on one of your arms.
Have your wife cut out and stitch it onto another shirt.
Yeah. So, yeah, shirts. Super excited about the T-shirts. They're going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Little robot man is a really parts robot man is a pretty neat, and I'm excited to have kind of like a shop, like a parts business
yeah.
type T-shirt. It's a little more specific, but I think it's pretty cool. Otherwise, we're trying to wait for the weather. The weather has been not cooperative lately.
Been like we had a false spring
Yeah.
here in PA. It was warm for about a week.
Yep.
And then we went to Oklahoma and it got really, really cold.
So we've been, it's slightly frustrating because, especially like this week, I want to shake down some cars that we've done work to or gotten, finished. And like the past 3 days, the weather was like okay, but then it was like raining or super windy or windy and cold and miserable out. And it's like
Tuesday was like 40 degrees and it's the
High
middle
40,
middle of April.
Yeah, so it's been a little disappointing because normally by now I'm usually taking cars out and shaking them down. So like tomorrow or this weekend, I'm going to try and fit in driving some cars just to get some miles on them and see what needs to be taken care of. Trying to think of what else.
Oh, Oklahoma stuff. We are going through the parts. Keep an
yeah.
eye on our website. There's like Matt and I have been tag teaming, photographing and listing parts. So there's like 30 new items every day going up on eBay or more.
Yeah, we're more. Yeah, we've been hitting it hard. I've been trying to juggle with everything else that I'm doing. It's like at night, at the end of the day, right before Mike leaves, I usually try and spend like half an hour and just photograph a bunch of stuff. Like last night I was listing at like midnight before I was falling asleep. I was trying to list items for sale to keep putting new stuff up. So we're trying to do that to clear space, but we're also trying to do that because we're getting so many emails of people requesting this and that and whatever. And if it's a small item, we apologize. We can't get right to it. Some of the larger items we can see and dig out, but we're really just trying to go through and just anything that we can touch that's in the way, get it photographed, get it listed, get it for sale. And do realize sometimes people get a little pushy with us. Like for us to go dig for that $50 part and it takes Mike all day to find it. And then you go, it's not the right color, not the right shade of green. I don't want it. We stopped doing that because Mike was wasting a lot of time doing that. If we can dig it out or it's not super difficult, we will. But like we're just going through the stuff as we go through it.
Yeah.
You just need to watch the website. You need to watch our eBay, our Instagram. And
I do keep a note in my phone of what people are looking for. So I try and get back to people, but it's we get probably 30 to 40 emails, calls, and text messages a day with parts requests, and it's only the two of us. So it can get a little overwhelming at times. If we forget you, it's not because we're trying to be dicks and just listing it.
Yeah.
It slips our minds occasionally.
Yeah, that's why we always try and tell people, just watch our, I mean, it's easier for you to watch our stuff than us to keep track of every person that's looking for a part. So
Yes.
if you just save us as a favorite seller on eBay, check our website daily, follow our sales page at IronTrap Finds, and if you see something listed, either claim it, buy it off the site, buy it off eBay, or give us a call or send a text message, and we will, through the business number, and we will be happy to sell it to you.
And the website is set up, when you go to the parts tab, it's set up for newest arrival. So as they list, it'll show up with a little red tag that says new arrival. That means we've listed it recently. So you can just scroll through and see everything that was listed. And I think that tag stays for 3 days from listing. So you'll see all the new stuff. And also the 34 two-door sedan is sold. We just got a deposit 30 seconds ago.
Oh, nice.
So that is sold. So it will not be at Carlisle, and we will have other stuff.
And that's a good example. We might, like Mike was talking about, we had a ton of people immediately in that video interested in that car. And we were basically putting people off because the car didn't look very great as it was. You know, it was just the way he had stored it. There was some rough body panels on it that just looked terrible. It was filled with junk. Parts for the car were scattered in every corner of his property.
It was just sitting on a frame.
It was just sitting on a frame. So we spent like a day and a half, or a day really, 2 half days, and the three of us kind of tag teamed putting that car together and making it a roller. So it's more palatable for the buyer. It also gives the buyer more of a head start. Like, sure, we would have loved to sell that car just as it sat on the ground, but we're realistic. We've been doing this a while. We've learned over the years that people, they need to see something that's, they maybe don't have the vision, and you know, not every customer has the vision. So when the thing looked how we found it, it looked very scary. So now that we put it on some wheels, put a windshield frame, showed that it has garnish molding, it has a you can actually see what rust repair, major rust repair it needs. All that stuff's taken care of. And as always, we priced it super affordable because we wanted it out of the way, and it sold instantly. So that's how we like to price stuff rather than sitting on it. So that's exciting. Now I'll get to live a new life and move on, so we can make space and bring more stuff home.
Yeah, so we'll probably be bringing I think we mentioned it before. We have spaces across the row from us. A space. I shouldn't say spaces. We have a space, so we're taking. I actually just picked up this morning an open deck trailer. We were going to bring the two-door sedan, but now we're going to bring pickup cabs, probably a bed.
Yeah, I would definitely bring beds.
Bring the best bed we have, and some
other
other stuff.
Who knows? I might drive a car on their trailer from up here. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't.
Do we have any other projects we can take? You got to think about it.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing to mention, and probably the last thing for the news. Pretty much all the project cars that we listed for sale have sold. That was really my secret hope when I listed all that stuff, was that I got rid of all these like half bodies and parts cars in pieces, not parts cars, but projects in pieces. Pretty much all that stuff we have deposits on, and the people we're trying, unfortunately, almost everything like that sold is people that don't live anywhere. One guy's coming from Washington State, one guy's coming from Texas, a viewer, and I'm trying to think what else.
I think that's it. All the other ones got
the
picked up.
one guy came from like Atlanta to pick up the 5. So like, but almost everybody other than the Roadster, the Model A Roadster, coming from not local. But that stuff's pretty much all sold. The actual driving cars, honestly, unless somebody like pays asking price or really pushes me, I wasn't as excited to sell them, so they're not.
It's understandable.
Those cars are ones I'd consider if the right person came along, but I know a lot of people were kind of curious what sold. But everything sold that was like bodies and project cars. I'm kind of turning over a new leaf with curating my own stuff.
Clip this. Clip this right here.
And I've sold, like we're selling some even parts, some higher dollar stuff I've been selling just to make some room. And rather than me keeping like a whole car's worth of body panels, I'm basically going and I want to sell that stuff, and I'll just buy a complete car that has the body panels I need and build the car from there. We're getting to the point where I have enough stuff I don't really need to I don't need to cobble together cars and bodies.
We're just going to
anymore.
continuously ruin nice restored cars, is what Matt's
Maybe
saying.
we might do that. I don't
Yes.
know, but so that's why you might see some better stuff that's been getting listed. That's out of my own, collection. Like I sold a 34 grill that was hanging on the wall because I have so many. I don't need to keep all of them. I might list. I have a whole bunch of 33.4 body panels that I have saved in case I ever got a body. I think I'm just gonna sell all that stuff. So we might have that listed up here soon, and whatever else. So, anyways, that's why you're seeing some better stuff listed.
That's why you should keep an eye on our Instagram sales
Yeah.
page and our website, because occasionally there's some Matt just gets a wild hair up his ass and
Just list it.
Yeah.
You never know. And, like we sold a freaking super nice 33 dash the other week that I
Yeah.
just put up. Just went up for sale. It sold an hour, 2 hours,
Yeah.
something like that. Within it, very quickly sold. And then people are always asking us for those parts. I can't keep track of for 10 years who's asking for
Yeah.
what, but just got to keep an eye on our Instagram and our website and eBay.
And come to Carlisle. We have a bunch of stuff that isn't listed that we're going to be taking
Yeah.
for sale. So we'll have a good spread. There'll be some early Chevy parts. I put a bunch of 39, 40 Chevy stuff
Yeah.
set aside. There'll be some early 59 to 64 Impala parts. I got some stainless, some hard to find convertible top parts. We'll be
Yeah.
bringing just to have a nice variety besides just our typical early Ford stuff, because Spring Carlisle, a lot of guys come from Cali and from all over the country, so bring a wide selection for everyone,
Yep. So we're gonna get into our topic today.
which actually it's a perfect segue.
Yeah, good. That was really good. I enjoyed that. We're gonna do. We were kind of thinking of topics recently, and the swap meet season is basically upon us.
Yep.
We've already had 2 or 3 or 5 here that are the early spring ones. But kind of Spring Carlisle is like that's the first big one for us on the East Coast. And then it's like every weekend almost there's a show with a swap meet.
Yeah.
I feel like so. I figured we do kind of like some swap meet stories of like really funny things that have happened, good finds. We'll probably drop a little, like we always do, drop some tips in there and stuff that's worked for us and so on and so forth. So it's going to cover not just Carlisle. We'll just kind of cover whatever off the.
And we've been to a lot. We haven't been to every swap meet, but we've been to
all over the country.
a
For sure.
good selection of swap meets all over the place. I mean, you and I have been going to swap meets for like 10 years together.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been to a lot of different ones. What would you say is your favorite? Well, obviously, Hershey wins as probably the best swap meet. We'll take Hershey out of the equation.
I've told people I think Turlock
Yeah.
in California is one of the best ones as far as quality goes. I would say. I mean that one's kind of like I feel like a hidden gem, not hidden gem, but like I know Pate and some of the really big, huge ones that people talk about, Portland swap meets.
Yeah.
Those are, I know I haven't been to those, but I know that those ones people talk about. But I feel like Turlock maybe isn't as big, but the percentage of good stuff, like I feel like every vendor has pretty darn good stuff, even if it's not like if it's Impala parts, it's still interesting stuff. So I feel like that one.
Yeah, I think it probably got even better now that it's not on the same weekend as Grand National.
True.
Because there's more people participating because they're not trying to divide their time between the two.
Yeah.
It's probably harder to get really, really good deals because there's
Or even just get the good stuff. There's
Yeah.
more people competing.
a lot
for
more
them.
people attending now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably that or the one in Washington is my favorite. I can't remember the name of it. The one we went to.
Monroe.
Yeah, that one was really, really good too. I was surprised.
Yeah, I don't know if we just hit it on a good year. We got lucky. We only did that one once.
Yeah.
But I think Turlock, because of the quality of stuff
Definitely.
that shows up, much like Hershey, we talk about with Hershey a lot. Like even if you don't have the money, like you don't have tens of thousands of dollars to keep in your pocket to buy like the most crazy stuff ever, just to walk around even with $100 in your pocket, you're gonna see some crazy cool stuff that is just even neat to look at.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like Turlock is. It's like you see really good speed equipment, you see kind of rare parts. It's kind of like all over the place. The only thing is Turlock isn't just antique. parts. So you're going to see 60s, 70s stuff too, where
A lot of motorcycle parts.
Yeah, where Hershey is just pretty much, But because it's California, you're going to see a high concentration of old hot rod type stuff, just because there's so much of it in that part of the world. So I think that one's.
What was your favorite memory from there?
Turlock?
Yeah. So we went to Turlock twice. I'll put the links to the videos.
I thought we went 3 times.
Twice. We only went twice. We went 19 and 20.
I thought we went one more time than that.
Unfortunately, because of COVID, we missed a couple years, and then they changed the date, so we never went back.
Oh.
But
yeah, I don't know. I think well, I should say the unusual thing that we've noticed about like some of the West Coast swap meets we've been to, I've definitely noticed it on multiples, is there seems to be a trend with the West Coast swap meets, the ones I've been to. I'm sure people are going to say other ones are differently, but there's like this thing where there's like a staging area. So LA Roadster Show, the Turlock, when we went to Monroe, like a few of them, there's like this, like everybody lines up in a staging area, like whether it's days in advance or like super early in the morning, and then everybody fills in behind, and then they kind of like open the gates and everybody rolls in. And what ends up happening is people are selling in the staging area.
Super weird.
And which is kind of cool, but like it's weird. And I'm going to side tangent, but like when I went to the LA Roadster Show, I thought I was being like super early bird and going on like a Wednesday, because I knew people were lining up already. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go Wednesday morning at like 6 a.m. or, whatever. I'm going to be early bird. And I get there and they're like, dudes are like, oh, I already sold all my good stuff. Like, I was here Monday. And they're like, what?
I will also say it's very strange from our area. We're a very early swap meet area.
Yes.
You got to be there at like 4 a.m. or, before the sun comes up, shopping with a flashlight to find like the crazy deals.
Yep.
As soon as you leave, like even just 2 hours south, it's a totally different environment. So like we go to a lot of these swap meets and we're like, we're going to get there super early in the morning. And then it's just Matt and I sitting on a park bench drinking coffee together because everyone
for hours,
no one's there.
Yeah. So like it definitely varies. I will say it varies between the swap meets. So like Turlock, pretty aggressive with guys running around buying in the staging area.
And early when we get there in the mornings.
Yeah. And LA Roadster Show 100%. That show, that is probably one of the most aggressive buying people out hunting around buying stuff other than the East Coast stuff I've been to. But I think that's the biggest thing I've noticed is that staging lane thing, which is kind of weird because it's almost like it's almost like if you're a fishing rodeo, they put a bunch of kids in a pond and they fill it with fish. It's like you're gonna find something good. So they have the staging area, and everybody's just hanging out with their good stuff. It's like the prey. If you're a hunter, they just set it there and they corral them all. And you're like, you don't even have to look. You just walk the rows and you look in the trucks and you ask the people. So like when we went to Monroe, we were like killing it because it was just like
it was also very different in Monroe.
Yeah, it was. Everybody was so laid back and
no one was. Some people were looking, but no one was buying really.
There wasn't really anybody that was like we were like hunting the rows and circling and going around that's what we do on the East Coast. Like that's
also what we experienced in Turlock.
Yeah.
In Turlock, everyone was running around trying to buy stuff, so we just parked the truck, slammed it in park, and just got out and was like running around. And everyone's like, "What are these guys doing?"
I was buying like piles of stuff out of the beds of pickup trucks.
Bought a set of 5 wide 5s, a steering box,
chrome wide 5s.
Yeah, and an intake.
We bought a bunch of stuff out of the back of guys' trucks, and it's like, so that is the one unusual thing we've noticed. Same with like when we go south, like you mentioned. I'll never forget when Kate and I first started dating seriously, and she went on a road trip with me, and we went to Westminster, Maryland, and it was the first time I was ever at that swap meet. And we got a hotel because we were on a road trip the night before, and we got up at like 4 or 5 a.m., got to swap meet on Friday, and literally no one was there. We were there before the workers were there, and I think the maintenance guy had opened the building, and I was telling her, we got to be ready, we got to get there, it's crazy. And we get there, and it's literally just her and I, again, sitting on a bench with a coffee,
Again, 2.5 hours from here.
Yes, and nothing, and the more south we go, the worse it gets. So when we go to Moultrie, it's like we would first couple times we went, or first time, it's like we're there super early and there's like nothing going on. And the other thing is, guys don't get in and start setting up till like 10 a.m. So we're like standing at their booth looking at a thing, and we're like standing there and stalking the space because you see something you want to buy, and it's 10 a.m. and the guy's not even there yet. And it's like everything moves slower. The East Coast is, everybody's very aggressive, and I don't love it that it's that aggressive. It's just that we're kind of trained
to be that way.
To be that way. But I mean, Turlock, I think a couple of my favorite things is I got that one Wyand high rise. There was a guy that rolled in that had a whole trailer of speed equipment. We got there a few minutes late, so some good stuff had already left, but there was like a scored a Wyand high rise that I still have. It might even be on an engine. I don't remember anymore.
But you almost lost. Some dude took it out of your hand and tried to buy it.
Yeah, he took it out of my hand, and then he was like looking at it, and he knew I was like stewing, and then he was like, "How much?" And I'm like, and then the price wasn't like steal it cheap. So he set it down. I think it was like $900 with nice 97s and stuff on it. And he set it down, and then I ended up negotiating it and something else and got it. The other one that was two big signs. I got two. I have a few good memories. So I got two big signs. The first year I got that Ford
car, truck, and
tractor sign. Kind of rough, but it was on setup day. Guy had it in the trailer. I don't usually score big porcelain signs at swap meets because, again, on the East Coast and probably all over the country, sign guys are like the most crazy about early bird and running around and whatever. And so it's hard to get signs. I just happened to right place, right time. The guy was like pulling something else out. It was sitting there.
That was like the first. So also rest in peace to our good friend Larry. That hooked us up at Turlock. He had vendor spaces, so we got in early.
Yes.
We were like 100 feet from his pickup truck when you found that sign. We like just pulled in, parked, and we're like, okay, let's go walk to swap meet. And we just like right to the truck, and he just pulled it out.
And I remember like as he was pulling it out, there was a crowd forming. Anybody that's done swap meets or you've had good swap meet finds, you've had this experience where it's like all the sharks in the water are circling around
smell
you.
Blood.
Yeah, so like he pulls the sign out, and I have my hands on it, so there's kind of unsaid rule. I have first dibs, so I'm looking at it, negotiating, talking to the guy, whatever, and more guys are kind of showing up, and they're all standing there quietly drinking their coffee or watching, waiting for me to walk away or take my hand off of it. So made a deal. I think it was like $300, which it's rough, but like any big Ford porcelain sign is, for under $500 is pretty rare. So I grabbed that. That Pennsylvania Tires one that's real big that we have hanging downstairs. That we walked all day, all of us saw all weekend. We looked at that sign, but none of us asked the price because it was like usually a big porcelain sign. And if it's there at the end of the show, it's usually too much money.
Yeah.
So we never asked. I walked over at literally it was like a couple hours before we were going to roll out on Saturday.
Yep.
And I walked by the guy's booth. I looked at something else that his friend was selling, and I was like, fuck it. Let me just ask the guy. I'm like, what do you want for that sign? It was like
$400.
$400. I'm like, what? Yeah, I'll take that. And it's like, holy crap. And it was just that he didn't put a price on it. And I think everybody was afraid to ask about it. And then number two was Pennsylvania. So I think in California, it doesn't always work that way, but maybe it wasn't as popular. I don't know. I don't know why it was still there. But
I'm so glad that's a 2-piece sign.
Yeah.
Because it was pretty hard to ship home because it was a big porcelain sign, but it's actually got a flange in the middle and it splits in half.
Yeah.
And we unbolted it and folded it on itself because it's like a 6-foot diamond sign. It's huge.
Yep.
Trying to put that on a pallet would have been a nightmare.
It was awesome. So getting that sign was really cool at Turlock.
Also, staying at our friend Larry had a house not far from the swap meet. So he let us stay with him twice. So we get up in the morning and he had an orange tree in his front yard.
Oh, that was so good. We literally
grab a couple oranges, go to the swap meet, peel them as you're walking around.
The first time we met, we stayed with him, or we did that swap meet when we were waiting in line that first time. I kind of like, no offense to him or his family, I was like, he offered us oranges out of like a plastic bag that were obviously just picked, and we're like, what's this weird? Like, again, we're East Coast, so like, you just totally different mindset. He's like, hey, you guys want some fresh oranges? Or I don't even think he wants oranges. Like, no, I'm good, man. Like, what's this guy like offers weird, kind of old looking, not old, but like, you know. And then once he stayed with him, we're like, the allure was actually like, we were like looking forward to it the next year. Like, oh man, we're going to pick oranges right off the tree and eat them.
Great.
So like, that's a good, even though it's a swap meet memory, I'm sure everybody can relate where sometimes your swap meet buddies or people you would stay with when you travel to go to shows, that's part of it. And it wasn't even anything finding cool stuff. It was just Larry was such a hospitable host person. Going out to dinner with him, hanging with those guys, and he kind of got us the inside. Yeah, you know, got us in early with him, and also going with someone your first time that has been going to the swap meet for a million years. He kind of gave us the lay of the land and helped us be more successful our first year because we knew what was going on. If we didn't know, we wouldn't have had any idea how to get in, or we would have had to wait till the first day, and you know, all that. So I would like to go back to Turtle Rock. It's just the scheduling.
It's tough. If we go out for that and Grand National, it ends up being like
10 days,
10 or 12 days. It's just a lot.
It's hard for us to do.
Yeah.
So we haven't been back, but someday.
My favorite thing at Turtle Rock was getting that change stitched, or not change stitch. I forget what it's called.
Needlepoint.
Needlepoint Hams bath mat thing that I got that was pressured into buying.
Yeah, Mike did not want to buy it. It was super cheap, and we just like badgered him. We're just like guilted him by like, what? You say you're a hams collector? That thing is. And remember, you were like, it's probably super expensive. And then I was like, how much is the hams thing or whatever? And it was like
$20.
$20, and I'm like, we're all like, oh, you gotta buy it. No balls. It's
still hanging up in my garage to this day. I can't get rid of it. It's too good.
But it was one of those moments, if you ever been with a group of your friends, that it's like he had to buy it or he never would have lived it down. And we were all just like giving him so much hell. And when it was so cheap, we were just like,
had to buy it.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So that was a good memory. The other one I have, probably the last one, and then we'll jump to maybe another swap meet, is I've talked about before, like when I was younger, I was into German cars and European cars and a lot of that scene. So I've talked about before, like I haven't forgotten some of those key things. They're always in the back of my head. So we were walking and there was a guy with a set of like...
Oh, I forgot about that.
Multi-piece split racing wheels. And this is what I used to do when I was younger. I used to go to Carlisle, Hershey, American car swap meets, and Corvette guys, kit car guys. A lot of those guys would have split wheels that... Maybe they had the wrong size tires on them because they were on like a Corvette or something, but they were the same type of wheels that we would put on some of the older German cars. And because they're multi-piece, you can just change the lips and the offset. So I'd buy them. You change the lips because they're 10-inch wide lips for some wide body Corvette or something or whatever drag car. And you'd make narrow lips, and now it would fit on like a 70s Volkswagen or whatever, whatever, BMW, any of that stuff. And I don't remember what they were. I think they were
BBSs, I think.
No, they weren't. They were a British company. Revolutions, maybe? Oh, man, we're stretching my memory. I think they were a British... Might have been Revolutions. Anyways, they were a multi-piece wheel. I think they were from like a Corvette or something. And the guy was like... I saw him, and it was in the back, one of the weird little pockets.
I will say about Turtle Rock, it's super weird layout because it's literally a farm, like, complex. Fairgrounds.
Yeah.
So, like, you just turn a corner, and then it's like, oh, shit, there's, like, all these people in this, like, little pocket under a pavilion, and you have to, like, walk way back there. And a lot of those people, I will say, no one knew they were back there, so you get great deals because be like, you're the first person I've seen in, like, 2 hours.
Yeah, so we went in one of those back pockets, and there was a guy with nothing else really that exciting. It was kind of like just kind of low-end muscle car stuff, for lack of a better term, and he had those wheels sitting there, and I walked up, I'm like, hey, what do you want for those wheels? I don't know, they're my son's. He had them, XYZ, and what do you want for them? I think they were $60.
I think they were $100, and you talked them down to $75.
There we go. So, yeah, I know I talked him down because Mike was like, you're getting struck by lightning.
Yeah, you're such a dick. And I just stand there and watch far enough away so if he does get struck by lightning, I don't get hit.
So I bought those, and then I immediately, before we even left, resold them to a guy in the European car scene that actually, I wholesaled them to him, that he buys and sells multi-piece wheels. So I pretty much just texted him and said, here's the photo, here's what I want, blah, blah, blah. Sold them to him, so we shipped them from California back to PA. I think he's in Florida.
Yep.
So I shipped them to him in Florida. He then maybe dismounted the tires or whatever, cleaned them up. He then texted me and said he sold them, and they went back to L.A. to whoever he sold them to. So that thing just did a big...
It always happens. Every time we buy something, even when we do these estates, we buy something in a state, drive it all the way back to PA, and then I ship it back to the exact same state within usually an hour of where we bought it. It's so funny.
It's crazy how that works. So that was a funny one, and it was like, but that was a good... I remember I missed that same swap meet. There was a set of Recaros from a Porsche.
Oh, yeah.
They were like a pretty rare set of Porsche Recaros, but they were kind of rough. And I hemmed and hawed on. I texted our buddy Clint, who's still into this stuff, and said, the guy's asking X dollars. I don't remember what it was. And he took a minute to get back to me, and then I hemmed and hawed. And then he finally was like, dude, I'd buy them even to recover them. That's still a good deal if somebody had to recover them. So I walked back to get them, and they were sold. And I was like, dang, like they weren't like $50, but they were cheap enough that there was money. But I was also kind of like, well, we're shipping pallets. 2 seats is really big. And I was kind of like on the fence about it. Then they sold. And
that's the only thing that's tough about when we travel to a lot of these, especially the ones far away. We have to ship a lot of stuff home. So it's always in the back of our mind, like porcelain sign, like anything big, it's tough to ship. And the
wheels and tires, because you can't get a lot on a pallet.
Yeah.
And if the wheel, like when we did that trip we did to Monroe, we went to a private estate and bought a ton of wheels and tires.
Shipped the whole pallet that was like 5 foot tall, just wheels.
And then we bought some at the show. Yeah. So it was like, and then we were shipping the whole pallet. You're like, we're shipping tires and wheels, and it's like the wheels are only worth $50 a piece, like retail. And we're like, man, I don't know if this is really worth it. But you know, by the time you pay somebody to take the tires off and pay disposal fee, now you're ended up, it's the same kind of cost no matter what. So we haven't
done it in a while. The company we used to use for freight is no longer in business because they underpriced everything. So we used to ship like a bunch of trips. We shipped multiple pallets for like $1,000 all the way across the country, and they were like big, like huge, tall pallets.
They would end up being like $225 or $250 a pallet.
That doesn't happen anymore.
And it was just like, that's why we were able to buy like that. And unfortunately, I mean, we talk about it a lot. Even the average person, even disregarding cost, you have to be able to have an account with the freight company. You have to be able to go find the pallet. You have to have a person's house or place to put the stuff at and pack and palletize it. Then we usually have a rental truck, or your friend has to be able to do pickup.
Yeah.
So sometimes we were dropping the stuff at the freight company directly, so we had to have a box truck. So this isn't as easy as people think it is. You have to really
a lot of logistics,
a lot of money that's spent, extra time, so it's not as easy as people think it is when we do this. But it has, the opportunity cost goes way up. The opportunity is way higher because now you're buying without any reservation. I mean, I've had friends that have come to visit me from far away or other countries or other side of this country, and they're like, oh, I got to fit this in my carry-on or whatever. And it's like, well, if you can only buy like that, it's really hard to buy because a lot of times the best deals are on the stuff that isn't easy to carry.
Yeah, it's big stuff.
So that's kind of the West Coast.
Any memories from Monroe?
Other than, like you said, wandering around, probably, I mean, I scored, the best thing I scored there was, I don't remember the name on it. It's going to bother me. But there was a guy when we were walking the rows. This is another good example of, little tips. Is we were walking the rows and there was a guy that had a box truck and he had a door open and he had like a V860 or I think it was a V860, or he had a hopped up flathead that was in the back of it. Talked to the guy and was kind of like, hey, what else do you got? Do you got anything else in there? And he was just like, I don't know. I got some flat stuff. I might have a set of heads or something. Nothing really. And the guy's like very passive. He's just like, not nothing that great. Blah, blah, blah. So I didn't really go to his booth right away. I was just like bopping around when we were doing setup. And then finally I started seeing he was putting out more and more stuff, but his booth was setting up, and I saw some speed equipment, so I booked it over. And then here he had those, man, I can't remember the name of it.
Just walk out there. I'll tell another story. Matt's going to go figure out. I'll tell my story. So
2 seconds.
I was walking around and someone, I think Matt saw him and someone else told me there was a cool nailhead intake at Monroe in the one building. So I walked in and found a 2.2 nailhead log manifold intake that the carbs are actually turned sideways. So instead of the fuel bowls pointing forward, they're turned sideways, and it's a rare. I think I own the only one in existence. It's got Grand Prix nailhead intake. Posted a bunch of photos, can't find any information on it. There's one magazine advert that I've seen. I have to try and find it again. Can you not find it?
I can't remember where it was.
So I bought it, and it was funny enough. Someone else bought it and then took it to their booth and resold it. So I think the dude paid like $150 or $200 for it, and then I ended up buying it from him for like $500.
Yeah, I was walking on the inside areas. The swap meet was kind of like all the good stuff had mostly been found.
Yeah.
And I was walking on the inside buildings, and this guy had it sitting there, and I was like, man, I've never seen it before. It's nailhead. It wasn't super expensive, and I'm like, I better text Mike. So I like texted or called Mike, and he's like, oh shit, and he went and looked at it, and next thing you know, he comes back, he's like, dude, this is like a super rare, and I just had a hunch, I didn't really know whatever, but like we always do, we're always looking out for our friends, so like even a text message or a call, I knew it was unusual, but I didn't know it was as rare as it was, and
I didn't know how rare it was. I just knew I'd never seen it.
Wasn't it like $500?
Yeah, I paid $500 for it.
Yeah, so it was that was one of those things where I'm like, well, $500 is pretty reasonable. Maybe it's, I've never seen one, and the guy I was talking to obviously was into this stuff too. He's like, yeah, I've never seen one either. I bought it, earlier this weekend. So
it's on my nailhead engine, which is in the warehouse for a Sunday project.
Super cool.
Yeah. I am dreading trying to make those carbs work because they're
out.
Turned. I really like the only thing I don't like is they're turned. If you bolt it down the correct way, the fuel bowls are both going the same direction, so they kind of hang over the valve cover on the one side. Mm-hmm. I'd like to turn them so they're facing each other, but now the carb linkages are all on the wrong side. We'll get it figured out. A lot of geometry and math to get those to work.
Figure it out.
But it's a super, super neat intake. I love it. It's like I posted in the Nailhead group, and everyone's like, no idea. Never seen one before. Yeah. So
we found there was like an article in Hot Rod or one of the magazines when it first came out, and they did like a write. It was obviously a paid advertisement, but Hot Rod did a write up on the intake, and that's one of the few mentions of that intake. It obviously did not sell very well.
It probably doesn't work, but it's cool as shit to have. So it was well worth the $500.
Yeah, it's definitely a neat item. So yeah, for Monroe, that was.
What was the name on it?
Oh, Latin. I was gonna say.
Oh, that's right.
I think it's Jim Latin.
Yeah.
He was SCTA land speed guy. Don't know if he's still alive or not yet, and I apologize to anybody that knows him. But a very prolific person in land speed racing. He apparently cast a bunch of dual plug heads with his name on it, and then he made this cool side by side 4.2 intake. All the stuff, I don't know when it was made, if it was the 70s or 80s or whatever, but it's all nostalgic type stuff, but he cast all these parts. I've heard through the grapevine that there's stacks of that stuff still in like his basement or in a family member's basement that was as cast, and he didn't, I think most of them were like to friends, or I don't think they were like openly sold. So I don't know where this guy, he didn't really tell me where he got them. All the stuff is brand new, and I also got with it a front timing cover that's set up for dual magneto.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
So it was a whole kit of stuff, and it was like, I want to say it was like $1,600 or $1,500 for all of it. And I'm
vaguely familiar. Yeah.
I'm like, man, just the heads have to be worth like, what's a set of brand new Edelbrocks or Offenhausers?
They're almost $2,000 now.
Yeah. So like for what the dude was asking, I was like, this is like super rare stuff and worth it. And I picked that up, and that was like my score of the weekend because I was super psyched to get such rare speed parts, unusual stuff. And I don't know if I ever use it or not. It's just neat to have in the collection, and maybe the right car, the right day, I'll use it. But I'm not going to easily find another set, so they definitely are keepers.
All right. Do you have any memories from Moultrie? So I think we went 3 times, or maybe even 4.
We might have went 4 times, yeah. I think we might have went 4 times. Moultrie, the fun thing about Moultrie was we were driving down.
Well, the first time we flew down.
Oh, yeah, we did fly down. That's right. Yeah, we did fly down.
And we slept in a minivan for 4 days.
Yeah, that was we did.
I'm glad we don't do that anymore.
Kicked it old school. Some of my favorite, again, Moultrie, some of the stuff that I find fond memories are more like the trip and the adventure of it all. So like
definitely.
almost all my memories are not of the Moultrie swap meet itself. It was like the fun of driving down or going, on our own to find stuff and adventures.
Yeah. There's two memories from the swap meet I have, though.
Go ahead.
You putting the 34 grill in the trash can and trolling the internet saying that the Southern people threw it away, and then some old dude tried to take it from us.
Yeah.
As we were pulling out of the trash can, the guy's like, how much do you want for that? Did you just find that? He was trying to buy it from us instantly. That was funny. And the main one was sneaking in. We just again, some of these swap meets, we just kind of show up and try and figure out how to get in on setup day. And Moultrie, well, you don't really sneak in. You kind of just go to the ticket booth. We're helping a friend, and we just tell him it's Pete Trumbauer.
We didn't know that you could just pay and get in.
Yeah.
I guess we just got a person at the counter that wasn't as familiar with that, and we were probably being confusing because we were trying to be awkward about it. And we were just like, yeah, we're helping our friend. And we talked about before it's like my second father, Pete Trumbauer. When I used to go to swap meets, I would use his name because it's a very believable name. And also he knows a lot of people. So it's like, it used to kind of work in Maryland or different places.
Yeah.
You'd say that and they'd be like, oh, or somebody would hear it and you try and use his name. And we're in like Georgia. The random girl at the desk doesn't know him, but it's a believable name. So we'd say his name. And they're just like, what? They're like totally confused. And they're like, well, if y'all want, you could just pay to get in for the day, pay a normal entry fee. We're like, what's the entry fee? $10. Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. We were confusing the hell out of her because we were trying to be all shady. And it was just like, we could have just been like, yeah, we'd like to come in for the day.
That's so funny.
And then we figured out we just do that every year. And it wasn't like a thing. It just, it's just.
The funny part about sneaking in is we tried that one time at Rhinebeck. We should have like 2 hours early, and we tried dropping the Pete Trumbauer name, and the security guard gave 0 fucks.
Yeah.
I was just
he was like, nope. And I'm like, well, yeah, but he's spending right over there. He's like, nope, nobody gets in. If you don't have a pass, don't care. You don't get in. I'm like,
so we sat at the.
We have a special uninvited guest, the Moondog. Hi, buddy. You found us. Roaming the proper. Oh,
I've been looking for you guys forever.
Oh, where you been? Oh my gosh, where you been?
So Matt and I got up super early, drove all the way up to Rhinebeck to just be told we can't get in.
Give me a ball.
Oh my goodness.
Give me a ball.
Good boy.
I don't have any bones in here for you. You ate them all. Yeah.
I don't have anything for you either, bud.
So yeah, that was a good memory. The one memory. We're now friendly with him, but we were walking the first year we were walking to swap meet, walked up on an older guy that was unloading his trailer of stuff. And
this is in Moultrie.
Moultrie, yeah. And he had good stuff, and he's unloading 32 grill, speed equipment, nice 33-4 parts. And I start looking at a grill or something, and the guy's quite abrasive, or it just wasn't giving me the time of day.
Yeah, which is very typical for us as young kids in an older hobby.
Especially if you look at me, I normally I'm wearing clothes that looks like I'm homeless.
And he's also carrying a backpack like a teenager usually.
Yeah, a lot of times. So, walking around, the guy's like, I'm like, how much for the 32 grill? Whatever. He's like, that's expensive. I don't know. Okay, well, what's expensive? And the guy's just like, whatever. And he told me a price. It was a little more than I wanted to spend. So then I said, well, you got anything else? He said, I have 34 grill. I'm like, okay. And he's like, and he hands it. I'm like, and he's kind of like, I guess, reserved. He hands it to me, but you could tell he doesn't really want to hand it to me because he thinks I'm a time waster. And he's like, I'm like, how much do you want for the grill? And he hands me the grill, and it's, I don't know, $900. And I'm like looking at it, and he's just like, that's expensive, or so he said some sort of comment like you can just put it back down, if you're not serious, or he said some kind of comment that kind of pissed me off. And the grill wasn't a bad deal, but it wasn't a great deal.
Is that the same one we put in the trash can?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, and it pissed me off. Fucking, that is one thing when I first started out, or I started getting better stuff. When these old guys, like when you're trying to buy something and you're being very polite and then showing genuine interest, and they won't even give you the time of day to just put that down over there, boy. And you're like, So he's like in the trailer. He says some comment like that. I'm like, all right, I'll take it. And he like,
Pokes
what?
his head back out.
I said, yeah, I'll take it. And he like still just looked at me. So I pull out fucking $10,000 in cash that I was carrying at the swap meet. And I'm like peeling out hundreds. He's like, where are you from, boy? And like all of a sudden it was like, boom, we were friends. And that's, if anybody knows 33-4 stuff, that's Bubba.
Yeah, shout out to Bubba. He's a good dude.
I know he doesn't use the internet, like really. But if you're into 32 to 34 stuff, he's Louisiana.
Yeah.
Old time, old boy. You know, when I say old boy, shit. You guys that know, if you're from the South or you've been to the South, you know, he's a good old boy and nice guy, old junkyard owner. He's so now, fast forward many years, super nice guy. I actually enjoy talking to him.
He finds us at Hershey and comes to our space. The 34 grill on my cabriolet came from Bubba.
Yep.
I bought, which I unknowingly bought from his wife. And then we were in a swap meet at our space in Hershey. I was like, oh, dude, I scored this grill. I paid, decent money for it, blah, blah, blah. And he just like goes, did you buy that from a fatter, older lady? And I was like, yeah.
I don't know how to answer this.
He's like, yeah, it's my wife. You bought that grill from me. And I was like, oh, shit.
So, but yeah, like after that year, I used to go to see him in Moultrie every year and talk to him. And then to get to know that he's kind of in the know for all the 32 to 4 stuff. If you go to a swap meet that's in anyone that he's frequented for years.
He used to do Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte, Moultrie, even Hershey. It's like, even up until last year, there's like stuff that he's buying that I kind of had heard about, and he bought it up right away because he's one of the people that other older resellers know that they just hit him up and he buys it. And he'll pay good money for good stuff. So he's bought some stuff from us. We bought stuff from him. But that was just so funny because it was like, flip the switch. As soon as I pulled money out and was like paying for the grill and I didn't haggle, he was like, okay, this guy's legit. And then he starts asking me what I have. And the next thing you know, you're kind of legitimate. And
you're talking to Bubba. If you don't know him, he has a gold 34 grill on his chain.
I know,
which is baller as shit.
Goals. We always joke about that. Like, we're not legit until we got a solid gold 34, 32
so
grill
baller
necklace.
Every time I see him, I'm like, God, I want one of those.
Get your bone.
Moon is not entertained by us talking.
Lay down. You lay down. You can calm down. Trying to think. For Moultrie, that was probably some of the...
We struck out. Moultrie, our first year. Well, our first year we did really well because we shipped like a whole pallet of stuff back.
Yeah.
And then the next...
Oh, I remember the one thing in Moultrie, I remember that first year we were kicking butt. It was like beginner's luck. We were walking... I think I bought an intake or something.
Yes.
And we were walking across the swap meet because we had our minivan parked in the parking lot. So we were walking some stuff back. And as we're walking, a guy's passing us, and he goes, "Oh, you like old flathead stuff?" Yeah, he said, my buddy and I just pulled in. He's like, "I got some heads and some other stuff if you'd be interested." And I said, "Yeah, maybe. Where you guys at? Maybe we'll come back." He's like, "Well, I'm going back there now if you guys want to walk back." So we walk back, literally opens the hatch of his SUV, and there's a set of Hawaiian cheater heads in there and maybe an intake.
Yeah, there was a couple of things of speed equipment.
Yeah, and it was like super affordable. And we bought the stuff right out. We were just like... We were like on such a roll for that like hour or two that we were like, after the end of that trip, we're like, Moultrie's the best swap meet in the planet. I'm going every year. Yeah. It's so good. And then the last couple of years we went, we barely bought anything. It was kind of like for us to travel.
We also tagged it the last, I think we only went 3 years. Me and Jason flew down 1 year, and then you and I drove down by ourselves the 1 year. No, we went 4 years. That's right.
Because we went the 1 year where we had the McCullough blower engine, and
that was in 2020. Yeah, because that was the only swap meet going on. So I lied to my work and said I was going to visit my parents because I wasn't supposed to be in Florida and Georgia. So we drove down like bomb run, and we bought all that stuff at the with the McCullough blower. Then the next year we went to that junkyard in Florida with Clint.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then last year we drove down with the two Jasons.
Yeah. And that last year was like pretty rough.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that was savior on that trip was you. That's probably our last good story.
I bought that nailhead, yeah.
Yeah, Mike was we were in a guy's booth that had all original Buick stuff.
It was like all NOS, like super nice stuff.
And Mike was just like, "Hey, you got any old like hot rod and nailhead stuff?" And the guy's like, "What?" And he started listing off things. The guy's like, "Well, I got an engine out of an old 34 Ford." I don't know.
Well, first he goes, "Yeah, I got an intake." I said, "Oh, what is it? Blah blah blah." He's like, "Oh, it's bolted onto a 322 hot rod engine." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then it was from a 32 3-window in like Ohio. And the dude pulled it out, put a small block in, and he bought it in like the 90s, early 2000s, and it's just been sitting in his airplane hangar in Georgia ever since.
Yeah, and then we were like, "Well, you're probably really far away." He's like, "No, I'm only an hour south or north or whatever." And he's like, "We go home every night." So we met this dude at his airplane hangar.
Stopped for Mexican first.
Yes.
In his little town, and then after we were done Mexican, we met him at the airplane hangar.
In the middle of nowhere, and we didn't get there till like...
It was dark as shit.
I feel it was 9 or 10 at night.
Yeah, it was late.
And because he wanted to do dinner with his wife.
Yes.
So we had to wait till he was done dinner. We were done dinner. It was like, I feel it was 8 or 9 till we got there. And then he's like, "All right, you'll take it? Great. All right, I got to go get my tractor." And he's like, "I just got to get my truck." And he didn't say how far away it was. So we're all standing there in his collection of cars and parts, airplane hangar, open.
Absolutely middle of nowhere, too. We're not like in a town. The airplane hangar's like 10 miles out of town.
Yeah.
Dark, like you walk outside and you can see all the stars. Middle of nowhere, no lights.
Farm fields, that's it.
Yes.
And we're like, and he just leaves. We're like...
4 of us, too. Not just me and Matt. 4 complete strangers.
And we're like looking at our watch like, it's been like half an hour. Where the hell's this guy out? We're like... "Oh, this is weird. This is kind of sketchy." Like,
just hear,
yeah, and you could hear it from far away, and it gets louder and louder. The dude was driving it from his farm, like miles away. He's driving his tractor all the way up to the airplane hangar, and he gets there and loads the engine, and everything's great.
It wasn't a crazy deal. I think I paid $1,200 for it.
I think it was a good deal because the speed equipment, all the chrome on it.
Like we said, we bought, in a couple years when I go to use that engine, it may not be any good, but all the speed equipment and stuff that was bolted on the engine is what I paid for, essentially.
6.2s, right?
Yeah, 6.2s has...
chrome valve covers.
No, they're aluminum. They're a weird Edelbrock valve covers that were only made for a short period of time. Has a chrome water pump neck. Has a chrome fan that is this big.
Definitely off a channel.
Yeah. Had a bunch of neat stuff on it. So I just paid for all the extra stuff bolted to it. And I've been gathering different parts to eventually put it in something one day.
Yeah. So that was a good...
Yeah, without that trip would have been like an empty pickup truck ride home.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. And that's why we kind of started deciding. I mean, if you live local, like us, there's swap meets we go to where if you only get 1 or 2 things, it's no big deal. But when you're like putting out thousands of dollars between driving and flights or, whatever, hotels, all the different stuff, and you come home with like a couple things, it's like, well, I could have just stayed home. The things I got weren't even exciting enough to make it, whatever. So
if you want to buy a car corral at Moultrie's as big as the swap meet. It's insane.
Hey, quit nibbling.
Chewing on my foot, Dad.
Sir, stop it. So Carlisle and Hershey are our 2 big ones for us, and that's relevant because Spring Carlisle is next week when we're filming or recording this. I don't know, Carlisle. I've been going to Carlisle even, but long before this was a business. I was just going as a, so when I first started at Eastwood is when I really started going to Carlisle regularly. I never forget like my first year working at Eastwood. At this point, it's 15 years or so ago or more. A bunch of the guys that were in the R&D department used to all get together and they would take a trip during work hours, like on a Thursday or Friday, to Carlisle to do like market research. It's kind of a funny BS thing, but
we do the same. We're there for market research.
Yeah, so when you're in the industry, there's a lot of that kind of stuff that goes on in all companies. But it was like a market research, and we would all go to the swap meet, and we just walk around the swap meet for a day and shop and hang out and look around, and then you would come back and give a report of the status of the hobby, so to speak, or trends. And it was just like, a lot of guys with Camaro parts. So that was because the dude was shopping for Camaro parts. So that's why there was a lot of Camaro parts. And I'd be like, yep, bunch of hot rod stuff. Definitely some good, whatever. So I remember finding, again, the first time I ever took Kate to Carlisle, that's why she doesn't go to swap meets a lot anymore, because she's probably like she's
A lot of bad experiences.
I mean, good experiences, but also like just hassle. So we bought, I think the first year I went with her, we bought, it might have been I was working for Eastwood and I still used to get off for Carlisle, and I went and she came with me. I bought a soapbox derby car, and it was like on the opposite side of the swap meet, and we had to push the thing all the way across the swap meet and then put it in my truck, and she was just, it was just kind of ridiculous.
Is that the one that's hanging upside down, or is that the one we sold?
We sold. It was
okay.
it was the one hanging upside down. I bought it at an auction.
That's right.
And it's local. That's why I kept it.
Yeah.
It's got local history. But yeah, we bought this 1930s or 40s soapbox derby car and rolled it all the way across the swap meet, and it was just like, just kind of funny. But she put up with it, but it was just kind of funny because there was a lot of hassle stuff we did that. Her first handful of swap meets she did with me, where I bought ridiculous stuff. She went to Rhinebeck, multiple years in a row with me. We used to do like the same thing, do a road trip. We'd stay a couple extra days and do stuff together. And, multiple years of pouring rain.
Well, they call it Rhinebeck for a reason. Right. I think it rains every year. Also, it's it's beginning of May, right?
Yes,
the first weekend in May.
Yeah.
It's like the rainy season for the Northeast. So it's like Carlisle. It always rains or sometimes snows at Carlisle because it's just that time of year.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, I am Rhinebeck. Man, the 1 year we went, it poured. The first day it was super nice. Yeah. And then the second day it was absolutely miserable.
Yeah, so Kate doesn't go anymore because I bought a little like midget race car thing in the pouring rain.
Oh, yeah.
One of the last times she went, it rained for 8 hours, pouring rain nonstop, and we had good rain jackets, but she walked that swap meet with me for 8 hours. So I will give her props for that, because Kate was very understanding, and she knew that we had to be there. We had to walk because we went all the way up there to shop for stuff. So we walked the swap meet like all day in the pouring rain, and I bought this like little sprint car or a little midget racer thing off a guy in the pouring rain and loaded it in the rain, and it was just like she, kind of put up with that. And I bought her a nice dinner, and we had a hotel, and she was happy. But but Carlisle, I'm trying to think.
I have fond memories. I was going to Carlisle when I was a little kid. One of my dad's friends that he worked with was into Mopars. So we would go to like the Mopar Nationals and walk the swap meets. So I have not so fond memories of being forced to walk the entire Carlisle fairgrounds when I was like 7 or 8, because we wanted to go look at he was looking for parts for like a Belvedere. So we would walk the entire thing as like a little kid and be miserable the whole time. I do have a very fond memory. We went to, it's not there anymore, but the Ole VFW. It's now a Dunkin' Donuts. We went there for breakfast.
On your way there.
On the way there. We were eating breakfast, and I didn't finish. And my dad's friend, Dino, looked at me and goes, "You got to put the rest of that in your pockets." And I just like an 8-year-old kid looking at him like, "What?" He's like, "You didn't eat your breakfast. Put it in your pockets. That's what you're going to have for lunch." And just like, he had to be fooled for like a solid 5 minutes till we finished up, and my dad's like, "He's just messing with you." So I tell Nate that all the time when he doesn't finish his meal, like, you got to put it in your pocket. That's what you're gonna have for lunch.
Yeah, that's funny. But I mean, we've found some pretty good stuff.
Carlisle is always, people talk shit on Carlisle, but it always brings out.
It's a wild card.
Yeah, it's a very wild card swap meet.
There's always, every single year, every single one, spring and fall. There's always, some years you find a ton, some years you find one or two things, but I find the most ridiculous.
You found a Packard dash, right?
Yeah, and it's actually I think it's the same dash I missed out on the year before, because the guy was reselling it, I think. But it was, it's hanging on the wall right over there. Yeah. It's like a 30, I don't know if it's 33 or 4 or 5, I can't remember anymore. Complete Packard dash, one of the bigger cars that has the better dash with gauges, and that dash was totally
He's just staring at
this
you.
Is Moon. This is every night. This is all the time.
I can hear him just go.
He breathes real heavy, like he's having trouble breathing, and he rests his head, and it gets heavier and heavier, and the tail wags.
You want to go outside?
You want to go out? Do you want to go out?
You want to go back out?
Go bother Steve.
It's so funny how you know it. You just like
ignore him.
You want a water?
Oh, so he might be barking.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I bought that Packard Dash sign. Remember the one year I bought like multiple
Atlantic signs.
Atlantic signs in the same
3 of them
in the same show, which is completely ridiculous.
and basically within the same day, I think too.
Yeah. So. And there is like insane competition on signs at Carlisle. So it was like wild that I was able to buy multiple signs and make some money on them. I think I kept one of them. Because the one I bought like 2 of the same sign or something, right. And I kept one and we sold one. But it was just like, you never know. I mean, we just every year, every time we wander around
and Carlisle has actually been getting better. We've been noticing a trend of more earlier stuff showing up.
Yep.
Possibly because of, it's harder to sell on the internet. There's, a lot of fees. You have to pay taxes, pushed a lot of people away from selling online.
These guys, IronTrap, have been promoting that you should go to swap meets and sell and participate. Exactly. So, yeah, Carlisle has been kind of good. I mean, it's one of those deals where it's such a big area. I think any of these swap meets that are really big, so Hershey, Carlisle, Pate, LA Roadster Show, like all these ones that just encompass a huge area, it kind of levels the playing field because there's so much space and so many vendors that it kind of spreads out all the people looking for stuff.
It's just pure luck at that point.
Yeah, it's just luck. So if you just walk every row or just wander around and really hunt, you're going to find something. You're going to find a deal. It's either going to be you may get a single or a double, or you may get a home run, but you got to look and you never know. And
especially people show up at Carlisle still on Friday because the show does go till Sunday. We just leave early because our sales drop off heavily. But people still show up on Friday. So even on Fridays, there's dudes rolling in with trailers and you're like, oh shit, run behind them to their space and see what's under it. Sometimes it's, 80s Camaro stuff. Sometimes it's early Ford parts. And it's the fun of that swap meet. Like Hershey by setup days Monday. By Tuesday, 99% of the people are in.
Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah.
There's no one really showing up on Thursday at Hershey.
Not really.
But Carlisle, there's still dudes rolling in on Friday morning.
Yeah, there's locals that'll only set up for like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or whatever, and we don't always stick around. But I usually take even though I've walked the swap meet a million times, even on Friday, we'll spend like a couple hours and breeze through it because you'll find a couple of new people, and you never know. But there's always, like all the swap meets, there's always great vendors that come every year. So one vendor that unfortunately has passed away, Lynn Paxton.
Yes.
Rest in peace. He a famous race car driver and a big part of this nostalgic race car and hot rod hobby. He's especially race cars. He was a big part of in the EMMR museum, all that stuff. Huge part of. But Lynn would set up next to the one building every year. He was one of the first guys, even before when I first got heavy into this stuff and didn't know how big of a deal he was. I used to buy stuff from him, and he was very fair. But the big thing was he had such a crazy collection of race car parts and hot rods, pretty much race car parts, but it would cross over to hot rods. That we used to joke quietly between us. It was like, I think he just literally whatever he trips over walking out the door is what he throws in the trailer. So you never knew what kind of wild stuff, and you'd buy stuff from him. Like one of the last years he attended, I bought some big Winfield carburetors from him.
I think they were CCs or Ds. They were the big ones for
like
Indy engines.
Yeah, so like I'm like, he's like, oh yeah, I restored XYZ famous Indy car, and those came with it, but they weren't the right carburetors that ran on it in whatever year. And he's like, I don't know, I don't need them for anything, and they were pretty cheap, so I bought them, resold them because they were not anything I needed, but it was like there was stuff that I bought for him that I still have that I've kept, some Halibrand center lock hub pieces and the tri-bar spinners and stuff. Like, so he used to buy stuff, but he was like, there's a couple guys like that it's like, that they have amazing stuff. There's no sense of trying to bother them to come to their house. Everybody's trying to, it's like, you just wait to see what they get every year. And I would just wander by his booth 2-3 times throughout the week. And almost every year I'd buy something interesting.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of restoration shops that vend there that just bring, you never know what they're going to bring. Cause it's like, oh yeah, we restored these 5 cars this past year. And this is all the extra shit the owners didn't want.
My buddy Nick, the one year he and I were walking in one of those restoration shops that always brings stuff, he walked up and he and I were walking together. He just saw it before I saw it. It was like a 32 Studebaker gauge panel, which is really good. I think it was pretty nice and pretty complete. And he's like, "Hey, how much for the old gauge pounder?" Like, I don't know, $20 or something. And like, it's like a, I don't know, $1,200 gauge panel, whatever. And I was just like, "You mother," I was like psyched for him, but you're like, "Damn it!" And he scored it, and it was like, I go back to that booth every time, every year, multiple times. They've never had anything that interesting since.
There's another restoration shop that we bought that 37 Chevy parts from the one year. The banjo wheel and a bunch of like neat accessory 37 Chevy stuff. Have not had anything old for the past 3 years.
Yeah, it's just a total random luck. And the one of the, it was in the past, like, I think it might have been the last year that Pete vended. Remember I bought the whole trailer load of stuff?
Yes, I remember.
And we were super pissed because the guy dropped the trailer and there was stuff in it, and we saw the stuff, and we kind of like saw in the corner there was a really nice banjo steering wheel. Two wheels. And we were like circling him for the whole day, and the guy was not back at his space. We're like, what the heck? Finally, at the end of the day, when we're like about to leave. Oh yeah, you guys had went home.
Steve and I left.
I was going to dinner with Pete and some of the guys that stay. We're riding in Pete's truck, and I'm like, "Oh, the guy's there! Stop!" And I walk over, start looking around. I'm like, "Where are those steering wheels?" He's like, "Oh, some guy came like a few minutes ago, an hour ago, and he bought those steering wheels." I'm like, "Oh, are you kidding me?" He's like, "I want to sell the whole trailer. I don't want to sell just parts." I'm like, "Well, you sold the steering wheels.
Yeah.
I just want to sell everything." There was a flathead in there and all kinds of 37/8 stuff.
We haven't even gone through it. It's on its own pallet up on the.
Oh, we still have some of that stuff.
Oh, I haven't. That was like the madness of. We started getting so much shit, I never even went through it.
Oh, wow. I didn't know we still had it. So I bought the whole trailer load. It was something pretty affordable, and we definitely sold the engine by now. We got the engine running.
The engine went to Andy, I think.
Oh, that was the one to Andy. Okay, yeah. So it was like all this stuff, and we ran the engine.
I think that was wasn't last fall, but it was the year before.
Yes, but that was cool. I bought a whole trailer and stuff, and the next morning I'm like, "Hey guys, I bought this whole trailer load. Not the trailer, but everything inside of it." So, and my last good Carlisle memory that I'll share is the one year my buddy Nick, who I do a lot of swap meet stuff with, he found a guy that had some neat stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And he was kind of like texted me. I was like, "Yo, I met this guy. He has some pretty neat stuff, interesting stuff." And he says he has a lot more. His friend passed away, and he cleaned out the guy's garage, and it's back at his house. He lives like 15 minutes from Carlisle. Do you want to go over there after Carlisle? I said we can come over and follow him to his place and go there. Like, okay, cool, whatever. And we didn't know what to expect. So we go there, and I think Jason Moss was with me because he stayed overnight with me. And we went there, and the three of us were digging, and we found like really rare Stuart Warner gauges, and it was just boxes and boxes of stuff. 32, I still have it. 32 interior.
Yep.
That was like a LeBaron Bonney interior.
It was in that car, the DeLorean car for a
minute. Yeah. So on and on and on. We found all kinds of treasures in the guy's garage. We ended up buying probably twice as much there than we had at Carlisle. And then after we ended up being there till the guy basically like kicked us out. He's like, "Guys, I got to go in the house. Like I got to get up early to go to swap meet tomorrow, and you guys are still digging. I'll bring more next year." So like every year I go and visit that guy and buy stuff. He's pretty much through everything now. But like at the end of that night, it was like pretty late, like 8:00 at night or something. And Nick goes, "It was my anniversary with his." He's now divorced. Read between the lines, but I think it was either her birthday or his anniversary.
I think it was his anniversary.
I think it was his anniversary, and he was like, "Yeah, she's gonna be pretty angry. I was supposed to be home at like 4:30. we were
2 hours away from home.
Yeah, 2 hours away from home. So he's divorced now. That might not have worked out too great, but I don't think that was specifically the reason, but. It was just kind of funny. I was like, "Dude, why did you tell me? We could have done it another night." He's like, "I didn't want to miss the the deal." So, but that was really funny.
And one of the big things we've learned is, if you go to a swap meet 1 year and you have bad luck, you got to try again. Because there's a bunch of local swap meets that we go to. It's, you might strike out for a year or two, and then the third year you go, and it's crazy. So
the difference between I hear a lot of guys say the difference between a good swap meet and a bad swap meet is one purchase.
Yeah. And we've had that at Charlotte.
Yeah.
You know, Charlotte used to be really, really good. In the last handful of years, it's gone downhill. But we found one vendor 2 years in a row that turned what would have been a shitty week of not buying anything to buying a whole truckload.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember my first time going to Charlotte. So our friend Pete, him and a lot of his buddies have been for like since like the second Charlotte or something.
Yeah.
They've been all road tripping down there, and it's like become a car guy's trip from our area. And over the years, the faces have changed, and they always filled the truck with like 4 or 5 guys, and they would camp there. And as people have aged out, passed away, different stuff. So my turn came. And a number of years ago, Pete was like, a couple guys dropped out. One guy dropped out. We have a seat for you if you'd be interested in going. Awesome. So I went. First year I went, and I scored Pete tells the story a bunch, but I scored a 33 grill. We were riding around with the pickup truck, and I was sitting on the tailgate, and he didn't see it. And we were driving, and it was like under a guy's table. He was setting up and just about to cover everything up. And I jumped off the truck while it was still moving and ran over, and I'm like, hey, how much for the 33 grill? And the guy's like, $500. It was like a beautiful grill. And that was before I had any 33.4s, so I did resell it. I wish I didn't now.
Yeah.
But that was like the start of my Charlotte experience. And I was like buying like crazy. And the first handful of years, it was really good. And it's tapered off. But like every year, even though we bitch a little bit about Charlotte not being as good, we end up finding some neat stuff that kind of turns around.
I mean, my first year there, we bought an entire pickup load of like 33 to 36 great shit. 3 window doors.
Yeah, oh my God.
Like, it was a whole pickup load of great stuff.
And that's like the great thing with some of these swap meets that, I imagine it probably still happens in LA, in California, but I don't feel like as much. But sometimes when you go to these, Carlisle's good like that.
Yep.
Moultrie's good like that. Charlotte's good like that. You go to these swap meets where it's maybe they're closer to like the deep country. So like in Pennsylvania, you get these guys that come from like Western PA or whatever, Northern PA, and they're scrounging around for the whole winter, the whole year in these like coal country and whatever. Down south, you get the guys that go deep into the south and they're buying stuff, however. You get in the Midwest or the guys are going way out in these ranches and buying good shit from the middle of nowhere. And then they bring it all and they kind of just like, they're scroungers and they just like dump it out on the ground.
Yep.
They don't really know what they have. They're just firing off prices off the top of their head. And that's what this one was. A guy like, he had scored a deal buying a bunch of stuff. He was in the Tri-5s, I guess. And he was buying the Tri-5 stuff, but I think he got all this other stuff. It was such a good deal. So the early Ford stuff, he was just dumping it on the ground. He didn't know what year it was, what it was. And he's just throwing out random, like, any door is $200,
yeah.
And we're like plucking 3 window doors out for $200 and all this stuff. So like, that's the excitement when you roll up on a guy that's like opening a trail and you can tell it's a fresh load. Our one buddy Scrape that goes to Charlotte, older guy. He says that's his voice.
Every single trailer that goes fresh load
coming in. So we always joke about that. But like when there's a guy coming in with a fresh stuff, and then everybody swarms. So that one load at Charlotte, it was like we were driving around and the guy, you could tell there was people kind of swarming to him because he was pulling stuff that had never been out of the swap meet. And when it's not priced and it's totally unorganized, and we went back to that guy 2-3 times and dug, and we came back subsequent years we went back and he still had leftover stuff, but his pile has diminished.
Yep.
But that's like the best thing when you roll up on a pile of stuff that's like fresh, pulled out of somewhere.
And I will say we even experienced it in Monroe because there's these crazy huge collections in every. You may not think there's some in your area, but there's a crazy dude in your area that's got a pile of early Ford parts or whatever you're into, and he passes away and that collection gets dissolved. When we were in Washington, there was this crazy collection of like.
Like a hoarder guy. I guess everybody was telling us that there was like.
But they were finding car bodies in the yard because there was so much stuff piled on it. They'd uncover it and they found like.
Sounds familiar, like Oklahoma.
Yeah, they found like 2 or 3 34 5 windows. One of our good friends had a friend that bought the 2 5 windows, but they were just uncovering stuff. So the Monroe swap meet was probably really good for us the year we were there because that was like
his collection was
dissolved.
It was like multiple vendors had gotten into that estate after the good stuff had gone.
Yeah, because he was a part of, I believe he was a part of the early Ford Club in that area. So when he passed away, different club members would go in and buy a trailer load. So you'd literally see a trailer pull in and it's just filled with boxes, and you just start digging. And it's like crazy stuff, and they just bought a trailer load. They don't even know what they had.
So we figured out who the guy was, and we would start digging. He'd be like, "Did this come from so and so's place?" He's like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" Like, well, you and 10 other guys have like all this fresh stuff that just showed up. And it's all 35.6 at
37. You remember all the 37 dashes?
Oh, that one.
There was
guy.
like no, they were everywhere. Like everyone that bought there, they made them leave with a 37 dash. And you just go up to like, I've never seen 15 37 dashes for sale at a swap meet ever. And it's like every early Ford vendor, like, here's a nice complete one and a bare one. It's like, where'd you find all these 37 dashes?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So-and-so's estate. I was like, oh. So I will say, being consistent, our guest has joined us again. Being consistent, if you have local swap meets, just go every year. It doesn't hardly cost you anything to just go and visit. Moon needs his morning pick-me-up. Like for us to travel to some, for the chance that it'll be good is tough. But like if you're not far from Moultrie, going every year is worth it, definitely.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Moultrie or Turlock or any of them.
Yeah, they're all good. It's just a matter you got to go, you got to look. But traveling across the country is, not
worth. Yeah, you don't know if you don't go.
That's right.
And a bad day at a swap meet is better than a good day at work.
That's right. Except if your work is the swap meet.
I say it to people all the time. They're like, "You're currently at work." I'm like, "Shut up. Just listen to the advice."
Yeah, take the advice, man. So that's kind of Hershey. We've talked about a bunch. We won't get into the Hershey specifically, but a lot of good memories of Hershey. That's, if you haven't gone, you need to go.
And we'll do in a couple weeks, we'll talk about Spring Carlisle and how we did and things we saw and stuff like that.
We're not really doing as much swap meet videos anymore. For anybody that used to, earlier in the channel, we did videos on, multiple videos on Carlisle and Hershey and all that stuff. We still do Hershey because so much crazy stuff shows up, but like, multiple reasons. Number one, that stuff wasn't getting the views. The videos were...
It started to get... Carlisle videos we used to do really, really good on, but if you walk around Carlisle now, there's like 100 people with GoPros filming the swap meet, and it just became oversaturated with videos.
There's plenty of people covering the show that we don't need to cover. We're not going to cover it any different. There's only so much stuff, and we just figured we'll leave those videos to other people because, we have plenty of stuff to make content about. We don't need to make it about the swap meets specifically, but you will see. That's why the great thing with these week in the life of videos, we could show tidbits of it, but we don't have to make a whole video of it. But we'll do a wrap up.
Yeah, we'll talk
about the show in one of the podcasts. That's
and stuff we found, because he's like, what's in the trash can?
Moon is ridiculous.
So we'll talk about, the stuff we found and how the event was and all that stuff. But the week in the life of that week, we'll show our experience. Steve is actually going to be hanging back at the shop working on stuff. So Matt and I will be having fun at Carlisle. Hopefully it doesn't rain.
My father might come with. Yeah. And my dad started to like swap meets now. So it's kind of funny. Now he's asking to go to like Hershey, and he's asking to go to Carlisle and some stuff like that. So that...
Is he bringing his bike?
I don't know. I should tell him he could bring his e-bike this time.
Because, the pickup truck, and you can ride it a lot easier at Carlisle.
Oh, yeah. I got to tell him about that. Because the e-bike he could ride there.
Yeah. We'll all be taking it.
And I'm not driving a 32 Roadster this time. So he doesn't have to be disappointed. But
I'm excited for Nate, because Nate's he's almost at that age where I can just take him and he can go wander by himself and like come back and be like, can I have $5? I found something cool.
Even just be able to take him to wander with you.
Yeah.
Is it that early memories like you have is pretty cool. And I think kids, even if they're not into it, like swap meets are just crazy. Like it's just
he loves going to flea markets.
Yeah.
It's his favorite thing, but it's the worst because every vendor that has toys, he's like, can we get more toys and more cars?
And people usually give Matchbox cars away to kids. So they're like, hey, little kid, you want some free Matchbox cars? They're like, he has like 2 more handfuls. Dad.
He's going to have to, I'm going to make him carry a backpack and all of his own stuff. Yeah, we got to
get him a little swap meet messenger boy bag so he can wear his own. He can only buy what he could carry himself in his bag.
So probably not this year, but maybe next year we'll start. He doesn't say entertain for very long. So like we leave at 5 a.m. and we get home at 7 p.m. So it's a really long day. So in a year or two, he'll start.
His attention span's getting there. He's hanging out at the shop now.
Yeah, he'll actually
for a
be
whole
here
day.
all day tomorrow.
So he's hanging out at the shop all day now, and he stays busy. So if we, hopefully soon enough, he can hang out in a booth and just play and do whatever. And
I think this summer, this is going to be summer camp for him, a couple days a week. So
awesome. Yeah, I mean that's hopefully good memories for him.
Oh yeah,
hopefully.
he whispered to me the other day. Since he's coming tomorrow, we took him for a ride in Big Red to go get pizza, and Karen doesn't know. She won't watch this, so she won't watch the whole thing. So
don't tell mom.
We took him for a ride in Big Red, just like across the street to get pizza, and he walked up to me and went, "Dad, can we take a ride in Big Red?" In my ear, like, I need to tell you a secret. So
yeah, we might need to do that. With him, we'll make a pizza trip.
Yeah,
so he can ride in Big Red.
It's his favorite thing to ride. Out of all the stuff, that's all he wants to ride in. Like
kids' big trucks has always been
favorite
a big thing. So we gotta keep him happy.
Oh,
and do that. So that'll be good fun. But anyway, so that's our wrap. That's kind of some storytelling and fun about swap meets. Hopefully, it gets you pumped for swap meet season because every year with the spring we get excited for swap meets, and we in the month of March, well, mainly April, but like April, May, June, it's just like nuts which car shows and swap meets in this part of the country. So it's like every weekend or multiple a weekend, there's big ones and small ones going on. So we're excited for that. And that's why we thought it was good time, because we're already like...
Pate was what, last week or the week before? No,
I think it's coming up.
Oh, that's right. It's the same week as Carlisle. That's right.
Yeah. So that's a really, Portland was just has happened, I believe.
Yeah, well, it's the same weekend as Charlotte. So Charlotte was 2 weeks ago, and Portland was 2 weeks ago.
So everywhere in the country, all these good swap meets are happening, and everybody's kind of buzzing around looking for deals. So we thought it was a relevant time. So hopefully this got you inspired. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment down below. So if you have a good memory or an ultra find at a swap meet,
we'd love to hear it.
We'd love to hear it. Drop it in the comments, and we like the conversation that happens. So thank you guys for listening, watching, following along, and catch you guys next time. See ya.